Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the session on today, Wednesday, the 6th of May. Our special guest today is Andrew Hay, and Andrew is a partner at the law firm Clayton Utz, and he works in the area of business and corporate law. And he's agreed to participate in today's session to give a bit of an overview of the areas of law that he works in, some of the challenges that face practitioners when they enter legal practice, and also to answer any questions that students might have, particularly around issues like how do they apply for jobs in law firms, what do law firms look for when people prepare their resumes and attend interviews. So I hope that people find today informative and they take an opportunity to ask some questions. So if Anna, did you have anything to say? Otherwise, I'll hand over to Andrew to commence the session. Okay, thanks, Anna. Okay, all right. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Lance, and thank you very much, Anna. Thank you to all the students out there for having me. I very much enjoy these opportunities, and can I say at the outset that if there are any questions, please feel free to ask questions. That way it's more relevant to you. Anything that I can impart during this hour, I'm absolutely more than happy to do so. So maybe to give you a bit of background behind who I am. I am pretty much a city-based person, but with very much family roots within the farming community. On my father's side of things, they are beef farmers out from Taroom and Wandoan. And on my mother's side of things, dairy farmers. She was raised in Bundaberg, but a lot of the family on that side of things is dairy farmers out from Gympie. So yes, very much city, but have spent a lot of time on the land and understand that side of things as well. I started off my career back and did university through University of Queensland. Back in the 1980s, and entered into law via doing article clerkship. So nowadays, that side of things is not the usual way to go. But back when I was doing it, we did 2 years effectively of article clerkship, effectively an apprenticeship in the law, where you were mentored by a particular partner within the law firm. Became a lawyer on the 17th of February 1992, and from there have progressed through to where I am today. Apart from a stint of about 3.5 years over in Japan in the 1990s, I've principally been based out of Brisbane. And as Lance kindly introduced, I'm one of the partners in our corporate advisory group, a group that covers mergers and acquisitions, so both private and public, so takeovers. And I'll give you some examples of that shortly. But we also do the equity capital market side of things. So again, private raisings or raising money on the Australian Stock Exchange or on the National Stock Exchange, which we've done. One particular group that we've done or helped through the National Stock Exchange, to give you an idea of something alternative from the Australian Stock Exchange, was Sugar Terminals. So Sugar Terminals Limited, which has a code STL on the NSX if anyone wants to go and have a look at it. So they have different classes of shares, growers and millers, so G-class shares and M-class shares, which are listed and can be traded on the National Stock Exchange. And they're a company that has bulk sugar terminals up the Queensland coast, and that's their major asset that STL have. I suppose to give you an idea, I started off my career, as I said, back when I was doing article clerkship, but I started off doing family law. I did family law for a year. I progressed from family law and did a bit of property and banking and finance. And when I graduated to become a fully qualified lawyer, I was actually working within insolvency. So the last major downturn in the economy happened in the early 90s. And so I was actually an insolvency and restructure lawyer back then. So primarily based in banking and finance, but acting for, I suppose, a lot of the banks and financiers around the place, doing restructure work, insolvency work, and went then across to Japan and worked there for 3.5 years with a Japanese law firm, and got introduced to the corporate work, I suppose the front end side of things, building things, rearranging things, buying and selling things in Japan. Loved it and came back to Australia, and that's where I've been ever since. I think one of the lessons I've learnt out of that going through my career, which I wish to pass on, is that at the particular stage that you're at, studying law, I would suggest to you that opportunities are everything, and to grab any of those opportunities that you've got. If nothing else, within the law, there are plenty of opportunities there, plenty of different areas of law. And what I really think I can pass on to you is the experience that unless you take up those opportunities, unless you try different things, you'll never really know what you have a passion for. And I think that's ultimately what I look at when I'm looking to take on someone in our law firm. The first question I will ask, obviously your marks are one thing, but from a personal perspective is, do you have a passion for the law? And in particular, in my area, do you have a passion for corporate law? And you will get some students coming through and indicating absolutely, and you can see it on their faces, that they love doing what they're doing. They love that particular area of law. And that's I think, the key to you in this stage of your development is to try to work out what you have a passion for within the law. Try and work out which area of law, or even if it's a case of just getting a solid grounding out of the study of law, but you find out that you don't really want to go into private practice, you want to go somewhere else. Even that side of things, by grabbing those opportunities, by testing them out, seeing whether you like, don't like, that allows you then to come to more informed decisions about what you want to do going forward. So I suppose the first lesson, if I can give that to you, is grab any opportunity that is open to you. Become, your favorite saying should be a yes rather than saying no to everything. Just get in there, boots and all. Unless you try it, you'll never know. Sort of something that's similar to that notion and that lesson is really to become a sponge. So go out there and absolutely suck up everything that you can possibly learn within your course, from your lecturers, from your tutorials. Really become a sponge, and really that is grabbing opportunities that are presented to you. You'll never know whether you like what you're getting into unless you go into it boots and all. And I absolutely recommend that to anyone. I suppose one of the other lessons I've learnt going through life, and this is not something that I'm going to take credit for. In fact, I'm going to give the credit to one of my mentors as you're going through. The nature of law is that you do, it is collegiate. At least that's the way I've always practiced it. It's extremely collegiate. And that's one of the things I love about law. If everything was black and white, probably there'd be no lawyers around the place. There'd be all administrators. So where we tend to dabble a lot is in the grey areas. And it's the old adage that two heads are better than one, three are better than two. So it is very, very collegiate. And so I would again recommend that you take and you interact with senior people, even junior people, getting together with your peers, but that the collegiality of law is a very important aspect of law, because with any problem that I've encountered with the law, there is absolutely always more than one answer to it. As I said, it's not black and white. You live in the grey. You don't be scared of the grey. It is an area that if you get more input, more opinions in the things, that's where you develop your experience and your perspective on things. And finally, I suppose just lessons learned, and if I can share this with you as well. One of my mentors, as I was going through it, always said that during your career in the law, that you will always you will reinvent yourself probably more than 3 times during the course of your career. And what he means by that is that the law is evolving, things or business is evolving, so the focus for lawyers is always evolving as well. And naturally, like any profession where people are involved and you're in private practice, the resources get funneled towards where those resources are needed the most. So you will find that over the course of your legal career, if you stay with it, that you will have multiple learnings, multiple, I suppose, specializations within your career. In other words, you reinvent yourself 3 times or so over the course of your career, and don't be afraid of that. Some of it is hard work. Obviously, reinventing or learning or learning a new area is hard work, but don't shy away from that sort of thing. It is something that you will do during the course of your career. If I can give you but an example, so the first part of my career, as I mentioned, was all about insolvency and banking and finance. And I did that for probably about a good 10-year period. The corporate law side of things came along and was introduced. I had an opportunity to go into that. There will be parts, or there are parts of the banking and finance and the insolvency side of things which I can bring across and translates quite nicely within the corporate sphere, the restructuring side of things. But there is also new skills that I've picked up as a result of public M&A and equity capital markets. That's the new skill. So I would say that I'm in that second part of my career at the moment, and no doubt there will be a third part probably in about 5 or so years' time. Don't know what it is at this stage, but you have to grab that with both hands and welcome the learning at that phase. Some of the matters that I've been involved in, just to give you an idea, it's very easy to say I do corporate law and no one really gets an idea of that. So maybe if I can give you a couple of hard matters that you might be aware of or read about in the papers, just to give you an idea. So did a transaction, a public M&A deal, scheme of arrangement at the back end of last year, which is whatif.com. So I don't know if anyone's gone to book a holiday or the like. So whatif.com is an online travel agent. They were taken over at the back end of last year by a US company called Expedia. And we undertook that transaction via a scheme of arrangement, which is an M&A type transaction which is set out in the Corporations Act. It's very unique to Australia, those schemes of arrangement. It involves going to court and getting court orders to have a scheme meeting, a members meeting of the target, and then the target shareholders decide whether they want to accept the offer that's coming through from the bidder. And if they agree to it, effectively about 75% of them, then the scheme goes ahead. So it's something that's unique to Australia and unique to the Corporations Act, and an interesting transaction that went through. IPOs is another thing that I get into, and over the years have done a fair number of IPOs. So whatif.com we floated back in 2005, and then as a result of the merger last year has been taken over. But some of the others that you might be aware of, some of these companies, Trans-Pacific Industries, Billabong, Virgin Airlines, TAB Queensland, when it was TAB Queensland. It's now part of the TATS Group. Mastermind Group out of Mackay, which is a mining services group. Westside Corporation, which is a coal seam gas company. G8 Education, which is childcare. And when we floated it, it had a different name at that stage. It was Early Learning Services. So there's a fair number of Queensland-based companies there. I suppose the thing that I liked about getting into the corporate law was getting to understand these companies, getting to understand and work with some of the management of these companies, learning from the management, and interacting business and the business that's done by these companies, and interacting that with the legal side of things, that you work in a team. Going back to that theme that I was talking about before about collegiate and being collegiate within the law fraternity, there's the legal side of that, but then there's also the business side of that as well. And in most transactions that you get involved from a corporate or from an equity capitals market, you'll be working as one part of a team. So again, being part or being able to work as part of a team is really important in the legal side of things. So Lance asked me to give you I suppose a bit of a snapshot about how you go about using your law degree then to get out into private practice or becoming in-house counsel, and using your law degree to get out there in the workplace, and how I can give you some practical tips, I suppose, about how to market yourself or to apply for positions out there. I think the first side of things is really to understand who are the law firms that are out there in your marketplace. There are many law firms in Queensland that practice different areas of law. So I think the first starting point for you is really to figure out during the course of your law firm or your law degree how or what you really like to do, and which areas of law you like to practice in. You know, which subjects did you like? Was it property, family, corporate, tax? And then try to then figure out which of the law firms in Queensland that actually practice that type of law. You might say to me during the course of your degree, well, Andrew, I don't really know. I know I like law, but I haven't really got into which area of law I want to spend the rest of my career in. And that's fine. That very much what I did as I went through. Didn't know what I wanted to practice first up. So to that, I would then say that you need to go out there and find a law firm that's going to give you exposure to different areas. Then maybe rotations. A lot of the law firms out there at the moment do 6 or 8 month or yearly rotations through a number of different areas of law. And that's where you can get your better idea of whether you want to practice in that. So you take the theory, but practicing in a particular area of law on a day-to-day basis tends to be a bit different from the theory side of things. So yes, you may find different experiences, but what you need to do, I suppose, is to keep your flexibility and try and see which law firms out there then give you an exposure to different experiences, different areas of the law, and obviously you'll get different exposure to different people in those law firms as you go through that. A lot of the law firms out there offer summer and winter clerkships. My advice to you on that side of things is to, again, take that opportunity if you're able to do that. Those will allow you to get a feel for the law firm, get a feel for an area of law, work experience as well. If some of the law firms out there offer work experience, again, I suggest that that's something that you may want to consider and take up. I know it becomes a bit hard in that if you take up a summer or winter clerkship, which is normally about a 4-week period in between your semesters, that really takes away some downtime for you. But if you're very much interested in having a career in the law, those summer and winter clerkships and also work experience opportunities are really important. The law firms are able to look at the students, to gauge and assess the students, just in the same way that the students then will be able to gauge and assess the law firms. So it really is quite a easy way for both the students and also the law firms to gain an idea, an understanding of each other, and allow you basically to check each other out. The law firms and a lot of the partners and senior lawyers within those law firms interact a lot more with the universities these days than what would be the way that when I went through in the 80s. There was virtually very little law firm to university type dialogue or lectures. That side of things has changed around. There's a lot more integration and a lot more relationship between law firms and the universities these days. So again, when the opportunity comes, when those guest lecturers come in, or it may well be that some of the partners or senior lawyers are taking a whole course, interact with those people as much as you can. Again, become a sponge, learn, get information from those people. And again, getting that information, having that interaction allows you then to make a decision about what you want with your career, which area you want to go into. It just allows you to make a decision with more information in front of you than what you would do if you didn't have that interaction. Resumes. Resumes are the first, I suppose, document, something in writing that a law firm will be able to see from a student. So I cannot overstate how important resumes are. Just like a law firm, when they have a client, documents going out or an advice going out to a client, that is the way the client assesses a law firm and whether they are and how they assess their law firm and whether they think they're getting good service or not. Just in a similar vein, resumes are that document that first introduces the student to the law firm. And rightly or wrongly, that is the first impression that a law firm has of a student. Hopefully not the only impression. Hopefully there is some face-to-face and other parts. That's why I'm saying clerkships and work experience and the like are important as well. But if you haven't had that, the first real introduction of the student to the law firm is that resume. So you have to get it right. You have to make sure there's no spelling mistakes. And it's not the bigger, grander things with the resumes that are the things that law firms will, or the individuals within those law firms will pick up. It'll be spelling mistakes, it'll be numbering out, it'll be just the little things that may mean the difference between getting an interview and not getting an interview, or getting an opportunity, not getting an opportunity. So yeah, if I can stress that resumes are important, absolutely they are. As I said, it's the thing that is the first introduction of the student to the law firm. What are law firms looking for when they get or where they get that resume? So the law firms these days, and obviously I'm speaking from my personal experience, but having spoken to a lot of partners, managers, senior lawyers around the place, there is a particular standard of mark that you should be striving for. And that will effectively get your entree to the law firm and get you an interview, or get you in through the door to be able to speak to someone. And I'd probably suggest that you know, it's an above average mark, but you don't necessarily have to be shooting the complete lights out of everything. If you can, that's great. But as a base mark, the law firms will be looking for an above average, solid performance. Over and above that, what they will be looking for is someone that can actually work as part of a team, and is passionate about going into being a lawyer, and is hardworking. And they will assess that obviously by your results, but they will also assess that by other things that you do over and above just studying at university. They will see whether you're involved in community side of things. They will see whether you've actually taken up some of those clerkships and work experience opportunities. They will look to see whether you've done something outside of the ordinary. As I said, community side of things is one avenue, but maybe it's extra study that you've done outside of the law, or extra curricular activities that you've done, whether it's helping a sporting organisation, being involved with your local church, helping RSL organisations. So there is a myriad of things, but what that tells to the law firm is that here is someone that's connected into the community, wants to be connected into the community, has developed relationships, is part of a team, and works as part of a team, can be collegiate, and is hardworking. One thing you should never be thinking of going into the law is that it's an easy profession. It is not an easy profession. It is challenging, and many other professions are challenging as well. But I would certainly say that that the hours that you will need to put in are quite long. The law at the end of the day is providing a service to the community, and very much that community is demanding at times, clients are demanding at times, and hence there is part of the doing of law, the business of law, that requires long hours to get an answer or to get a document or to get a transaction that is needed in a timely manner by the particular clients. So what the law firms will then look for is someone that can actually work together to get that answer for the client, because effectively that is who you are servicing. All law firms exist because they service clients, whether that's government, private, not-for-profit. Everyone at some stage, well, everyone works for a client. So you have to be a service provider. Any other questions?
Well, we might ask some of our students who are listening today whether they have any questions they would like to ask Andrew, whether it's from the points that he's raised thus far, or it might be something else that you've been thinking of that you might want to ask someone who's practicing in the profession a question. So if there's anyone who wants to ask questions of Andrew, it's a good opportunity to go ahead now. We've got about 10 or 11 minutes for question time, so take the opportunity, students, to ask some questions if you would like to.
Hello, Andrew.
Hello.
Sorry, my name's Jamie. Sorry, I'm not sure if you could hear me. I'm on a different device today. Apologies.
No, I can hear you quite well, Jamie.
Okay, good. The question I had was about being a mature age student, and well, pretty much half the class that we're in at the moment, from what I can see with the tutorials that we attend, are mature age students, even a lot older than I am. And I was wondering if that has any effect on, in terms of the competition. We're going up against, very bright students that are quite young and have much better marks than us. Perhaps they have double degrees as well. And I was just curious if that has any effect on our chances of getting a job in a high-level law firm like Clayton Utz, for example.
I can say that it will have. There's two parts to my answer. I'll say to that. If you are going through into the first rotation, effectively, of competing with other new law students in there, it has some effect. But then I can also say to you that it has, with some areas of the law, particularly the area that I'm in, corporate, it has a good effect. We have employed mature age students into our area mainly because they have experience outside of just the plain law. So if I can take some examples of some people that we've employed and have been very successful in doing corporate law, we've had people that have been involved with their own business that have then come into the law at a mature age and have performed exceptionally well because they understand business and understand what it is to run a profitable business, what it is to run a business at a loss, so that they have other life experiences that assist them in getting to an answer. We have had mature age students that have gone overseas and had the experience overseas and then come back. And again, the experience that they've brought back into it have put them in good stead. We've had people that have gone into alternative careers, accounting and also investment banking, that have come back into the law. And again, what they bring with that maturity is experiences that you just can't learn. So yes, I think you will find, it will be unreal of me to say that there is there's no effect, but then there are also advantages there that you need to play to and recognise that you can bring to a law firm, and I can say that the law firms do recognise that. So I think the advantage that a mature age student brings to that are those other life experiences. So don't be afraid of putting those down on paper. That is your advantage. Play to it.
I'll just add a point there. I've worked in both private practice and government practice, and I've also managed a private law firm. And I know from my own experience, when I've had mature age applicants or even people in their perhaps mid to late 20s and they've had another career, is that in your cover letter, sell why you believe your previous career experience will assist you in the law firm. So, for example, an example I can give is I've had people who have worked in sales and customer service, or they've worked in marketing. They've then gone and done a law degree, whether it's in their 20s or in their 30s, and they've then applied for a job in a law firm, and they've said, I know how to speak with and deal with clients. I know how to meet their needs. I know how to identify their wants. I know how to develop a client relationship. And something like those skills, which you do get from whether it's banking or retail or running your own business, are imperative when you go into legal practice, because as Andrew said, you are servicing clients, and you can have all the HDs and the masters and the PhDs in the world. You can look absolutely fantastic on paper, but if you can't communicate with people, if you can't send a professional email, then you're not going to make any money for the law firm. Or if it's a not-for-profit organisation, you're not going to have any repeat clients coming back knocking on the door, and therefore you won't get any government grants. So draw upon your previous career experience and use it to your advantage. You've got to sell yourself when you go for a job in law or in any career. Obviously, law is becoming more and more difficult now because there are more and more people studying law degrees, and there certainly isn't such a growth in law jobs compared to the number of people studying law. So it comes down to selling yourself and identify those skills that you've got from your previous career and tell a law firm how you can help their law firm with those previous experiences you have.
I couldn't emphasise or couldn't back up Lance's comments more. That is really, really important. And going back to one of the things I said, where we, as a law firm, we're looking for an above average mark, so a base level. There's two parts to the law. There is the knowledge and the legal side of things, which is obviously what we bring to the service to the client, which is our knowledge of a particular area of law. But it's really important to understand that the business of law is to service clients. And so the relationships that you bring to that, and so if you've had a career in another industry, what you do bring to that law firm are the relationships that you've managed as a person to collect over the years of your experience. And that is something that as a mature age student, you bring absolutely to the table. You've been on this earth more years, and hopefully you've developed more relationships in that particular area than someone that's coming in afresh. For those people that are coming in afresh, the challenge and the skill that needs to be learnt is the development of those relationships. So you will find that the most successful lawyers out there are not always the most intelligent. They need a level of intelligence because obviously they're servicing clients, but the most successful are the ones that are able to blend that intelligence with relationships and communication skills so that clients understand what they are talking about. I've met some brilliant lawyers over the time, but their communication or ability to break down the legal message so that people can understand that legal message and use it in their business is lacking. And so you need to have those three skills: the legal skill, the technical skill, the relationship building, and then the communication side of things are the three essentials to be a good, successful lawyer.
Are there any other questions that people would like to ask?
Hello, Andrew. My name is Marky. I have one question. Is it true that client control is more dominant in corporate law, as in the relationship with the legal issues that the lawyer and the client are working on?
I think in corporate law, the best corporate lawyers are those that have a very, very good relationship with their client, in that what you need to be able to understand is the industry that they're in. If I can give but an example, I'm up here in Rockhampton for this week, Beef Australia. Part of my practice is agribusiness. I'm here to learn more about the industry, more about the business of beef, and to understand what drivers, what are the hot topics, what are people talking about. And it's only if you actually get to understand your industry, get to understand your client, get to understand what's driving them, that you can create or present a legal solution to them for a particular problem or issue that they're undertaking. Unless you understand those drivers, unless you understand the client and what's driving them, you can't come up with a solution that's viable for that client. So yes, absolutely. We are a service industry. We need to understand our clients. Some clients will be driven purely by dollars and profit. Some clients will be driven by a different outcome of what they're trying to achieve. But you've got to understand, you've got to spend time with the client, with the industry, to actually understand that. Yeah.
And just to add a point there, one of the many reasons why the client relationship management, and that's why having good people skills is critical to being a good lawyer, is people are becoming less and less brand loyal. You've only just got to look at when people buy things or go to the doctor or so forth. They are constantly searching for new information, new resources, alternate law firms, alternate lawyers. So a good lawyer who can build a relationship with a client and maintain that relationship will have continued work and will therefore remain competitive. But lawyers who don't build good relationships with their clients will see their clients eventually gravitate to one of the other many competing law firms, whether they are national or interstate or globally. And now we're starting to see law firms pop up online, which will add to that competition that I speak of.
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
We might probably have time for one more question. It's about 1:15. So if there's another question.
I've got
Andrew.
No, go Shay. It's all good.
We might have time for two more.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll have time.
Andrew, I was just wondering, as a young student just out of high school, I was wondering what sort of practical things can we do to develop these people skills, and also how did you develop these communication skills when you were at university, and what were some of the challenges you had to overcome during that time?
It's tough, Shay. Can I say there's no magic bullet to this? Lawyers, by their very nature, are introverted people. They like getting into the books. They like getting into the detail. It's really, you've got to treat it as a skill that you need to develop. So There will be organisations for public speaking, for instance. You've got to take yourself out of that comfort zone of your books. You need to get into somehow public speaking, moot contests.
We have a student law association that students can get involved in.
Student law associations, writing articles, getting yourself out of the books, even non-law things like just getting out into the community and being able to speak with people at functions. Going to functions is a good way to start first up. Forcing yourself to go and have a conversation with someone. It sounds easy, but it's really hard. You know, you go into a function and your immediate question is, what do I say? What's the first conversation that I come up with? So to do that, it takes some thought process. It takes experience. One thing I will say, the more you do it, the more you become comfortable with it. So it's one of those things, it's like the Nike ad, you've just got to go out there and do it. There's different ways you can do it. Law association, moot contests. I know you're involved with the church, getting out there and being involved with some of the speaking or getting involved with tutoring. If you've got the ability to, or the opportunity to tutor someone, as you go through the years. But yeah, you've got to get yourself out of the comfort zone a bit, and you just got to do it. The more you do it, the more you'll find it's easier to do. Preparation, if you're doing talks and things like that, preparation is everything. And being able to formulate and structure how you want to talk about things. Everyone will have their own ways that they feel comfortable with, but so doing it, getting the practical experience, but preparing for it. The more you prepare, the more you do some practice, the more you'll find it's easier.
Anna, you had a question?
Yeah, look, I'm just conscious of the time and the fact that I know Andrew's got another appointment after this. My question was just going to be really briefly about how do you see technology and the use of technology changing the way in which law operates, so if law firms operate, maybe just within your own area?
The immediate idea to technology is how we research. So being a lawyer, you get thrown a question, and you will, if I can say one of the practical tips, is that hard questions you always need to go and research. You'll find over your law degree and law career that you can't get away from doing that research. And that research is looking at commentary. So in my area, Ford is one of those textbooks that you always revert back to. You need to look at case law. Law is evolving. It continues to evolve. It will always continue to evolve. So you need to go back and have a look at case law. Look at articles, what other people have written around the place. And that's what takes up the time with any law. You will need to go back, and you cannot get away from getting into the detail. What you then present to the client will be completely different, because the client is not a lawyer. They don't want to know the law. They want to know an answer or how to get a solution. So there might be a whole range of stuff that happens there. So getting back to your question, Anna, one thing that has happened for me over my career is libraries are gone. They're out the window effectively. They're still there, but they're on basically on databases. You need to have great computer skills, research skills on via a computer, via a data bank, and being able to do that. When new lawyers, whether it's mature age or fresh students coming into our place, they do about 3 months intensive research skills on being able to research things off a data bank, off LexisNexis, Connect 4, basically every data bank that we have, they will get schooling in to be able to research. And I've got to say that the new lawyers coming in use computers, use those research much better than anything I can. I'm hopeless at it, but I'm learning. So that's something you need to learn. Technology means that law is not local. It still is local, but it's expanding out. And you'll find that a specialisation within the law is very much needed. And being able to write and get some of your writings out there, some of your publication of your material thoughts is easier than ever it was. So again, that's a way that it has changed. So writing articles has become a really important marketing area for lawyers going through, and particularly telling people within the locality, within the nation, internationally, what they're renowned and what they specialise in. So I think more than ever, the technology, writing and publicising or publishing has improved. Video conferences, exactly what we're doing now and what CQU is really, I suppose, pioneering in. You may have been doing this for quite a while, but I can tell you now that that multi-video conferencing side of things is very much new, but very much being put to more work these days, and linking people from all around the world to get to a solution on a particular problem, or to paint a solution for a particular client. So I suppose what's that? That's research skills, that's communication. Are the two things that I've seen go quite significantly in the last 5 to 10 years.
Oh, thanks. And also that collegiality, I guess. It's not just local collegiality, that's spread then worldwide. So that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. Whether you're speaking on a phone, whether you're meeting face-to-face, there is that collegiality. Yep. That's what I love about the law, I've got to say. I love meeting people that know more than me, have different experiences to me, and bring different perspectives and different knowledge to a problem. That gets me out of bed in the morning. So.
Okay, well, we probably should bring the session to an end. So thank you very much, Andrew, for giving up your time to speak with our students here at CQ University today. And thank you to our students who have come along to participate in the session and to ask Andrew some questions. So I probably don't have anything else to say, so I'll hand over to Anna to make any final comments and close the recording.
Yeah, thanks, Lance. And thanks again, Andrew. That was a really fantastic explanation of things that we need to be thinking about and students need to be thinking about as they progress through their degree. And I know it's things that they're concerned with. How do we, we emphasise skills and the development of skills. I guess it's that leap from, law student into law practice is always a little bit daunting, but how do you make that a little bit easier? So yeah, it's great when they come along to sessions like this. That's why we get them to talk on the forums, talk to each other. It's always, that's important. So thanks again. Yeah, thanks again for giving up your time. Hope we haven't made you too late for the next.
No, not at all. Not at all. not at all. And look, thanks for having me. And I hope I was able to impart something that you might find useful in your careers going forward. And look, good luck with it all. So.
Yeah.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.